This is the Relevant Podcast.
It's episode 1204, and it's the Relevant Podcast here in Orlando. I'm your host, Cameron Strang, and joining me from Loverland, Virginia is Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
From Nashville, our managing editor, downtown, Emily Brown.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, okay, so I have something I want to address real quick.
Okay.
We've been podcasting since 2005 or 7. It's a blur. I don't remember. We have done 1,204 hours of professional podcasting. That's a lot. Okay. Some of you regular listeners might have noticed that we missed Friday's show. True confession, we recorded Friday's show. We Derek and Marty and Emily and I had a great time. What? Well, okay, hold on. We got together and did a podcast. Four of us. 4 professional people whose time is valuable. Spent an hour entertaining you folks. We went to edit said episode on Thursday for the Friday morning post. And our time together did not exist. For the first time in 1,204 episodes, I forgot to hit record. Nobody noticed. And we did a whole show, and there's no evidence of it. And I just want to apologize.
And it was amazing.
It was the best show we've ever done. No.
So basically, you guys had a Zoom call.
Yeah.
You had a very entertaining Zoom call.
A very structured Zoom call where, that's what it was.
The feeling in the pit of your stomach when you realize what happened, but it's too late to fix it. You know, I remember a story from very early, like back in the day, Jesse, where you were doing a magazine roundtable.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
It wasn't you? Who was it, Tyler?
It was, yeah.
Okay. It was after hours. It was for our music issue. And we were doing a roundtable of all these like leaders in the music industry, artists, you know, innovators. And it was like going to be the state of music 2016 or whatever it was. And we had, because of all the schedules, we had to record it at like 8:00 at night. Tyler worked late and forgot to hit record. And same thing happened.
Hey, I came back from Lollapalooza one time doing God knows how many interviews, dozens over the course of several days. And none of them were on the multi-track recorder that we used. And there was something, the card got corrupted, but I always also use voice recorder on my phone. Like, and I had, you know, because I'm paranoid about that to the point of like anxiety. So 2 is 1, 1 is none. That is the rule for this.
I was just saying, very early on at Relevant, there was one interview I remember with an artist. We had started and we were probably about 5 minutes in, and I realized I wasn't recording yet. And I was trying to like subtly start recording, but the program we use has this very noticeable countdown to start recording. So he stopped talking halfway through and goes, "Wait, what was that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I wasn't recording what you were saying." Like I had to like come clean about it. So then we had to fake the first question again. It was a whole thing. He was very nice about it, so thank you. But
see, here's the thing though about like quality control and life. And this is a life lesson we can all learn. Okay. So like Jesse said, 2 is 1, 1 is none. Right. So for years when we were recording this show after COVID, we all went remote and we started doing it purely on Zoom. And then we moved to a different platform. We always had every person on the cast had a local recording they were doing. And then we had the cloud recording we were doing. Well, we moved to this new platform a couple of years ago called Riverside, and it just like felt like an unnecessary step because like we never had an issue with Riverside. It was always perfect, great fidelity. If somebody's connection dropped, it had all these backups and ways that you can work around anything that comes up. So we've stopped doing that second local recording because it's like we haven't needed it until you need it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, don't take your eye off the prize just because life is going good. You know, when things are going good, stay disciplined. Don't take your foot off the gas. Like, don't cut corners just because it's easier to. Life
That's
lesson,
a sermon
kids.
right there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I got scared straight last week. I got scared straight. So My goodness. I was very intentional to hit record. There's a red dot. There's a timer going. I am verifying that we are recording.
Yeah, right. Cameron messaged me about missing the recording, and I literally had the thought of like, hopefully this is just like, your grandparents, they can't find something that's so obvious. So I was like, I'll find it.
Excuse me? Excuse me?
Should we cut that out?
Emily, that analogy, it works perfectly, I think. The one thing about taking broadcast journalism classes at ORU at a time when the media department was very out of date, they had a lot of old school like I helped with like the campus news, KORU. It was broadcast only on campus.
Fired.
I did get fired. I got fired from a couple positions in the media department, but that one, while I was there, they would all. I actually got pushed at that one to floor director because of my appearance. But anyway, they took me off camera.
Oh my gosh! I was wondering what you meant by that. Like they wanted a very good-looking floor director. And no, you're saying you were too ugly for TV, so they took you off camera.
Ugly? That's so mean.
It was because I wouldn't cut my hair, and I just refused. And but anyway, they would say, it was before it was, you start rolling. Camera 1, do we have speed? Camera 1 has speed. Control room, do you have speed? Camera 2, do you have? And you had to do verbal. Everyone had to confirm that they were speed. That's the industry term for recording, and that has like stuck with me forever. Like, okay, we got speed. We're good. But it still happens. It happens,
Well, thankfully I can confirm control room has speed right now. We are 7 minutes into a very good recording, and it'll only get better from here. Speaking of which, actually, it really will. Our guest today is a big deal. Dr. Francis Collins, if you don't know his name, well, number one, that says you're not smart. But number two, if you don't know his name, he is on the Mount Rushmore of 20th century and 21st century faith leaders. You'd go, C.S. Lewis is up there, N.T. Wright's up there, Dr. Francis Collins is up there. He is singularly one of the most respected scientists in the world. He was the founder of the Human Genome Project. He was the head of the National Institutes of Health for a very long time under multiple presidents. He just recently retired from that. But he is a very bold, outspoken faith leader, a Christian, which is a very unique convergence of worlds. There has increasingly become a chasm between you're either pro-faith or you're pro-science. And I don't understand that. And Dr. Francis Collins is a preeminent leader in both scenes and really trying to change the conversation around the intersection of faith and science. He founded an organization or co-founded an organization called BioLogos, which is founded to talk about that there really isn't a discrepancy between what the Bible teaches and what science has taught us. And that honestly, their work has deeply impacted my own life, my own worldview. So I have huge respect for our guest today, and I'm excited for you guys to hear this conversation.
Now, who did the interview?
I did.
Okay.
But we talked about it beforehand because I was like, don't botch this. We get one shot with Dr.
No
Francis
pressure.
Collins.
I would
literally. He was like,
you called me a grandpa. You called me a grandpa. I'm going to say, don't botch it. You would never botch it. You're a great interviewer. No, we really did talk about. We don't usually talk about the interviews beforehand, but I called her. I was like he's a big deal. What are we going to talk to him about? You know what I mean?
Well, I can't wait to hear the interview. And Emily, you don't have to give too much away, but I think I would have also been tempted because lately there's been a lot of sicknesses going around and it is impossible to get a doctor's appointment. Like, it's week, you're weeks out here. Okay. Even a telehealth is tough. I don't know if you guys, there's stuff going around.
I haven't been to the doctor in 20 years.
He may still be the director of the National Institutes of Health. He mapped the human genome. Well, either way, he's held a lot of prestigious medical positions. I would have been like, Dr. Collins, real quick, before we get on,
before we have speed.
Yeah, I have this mole, and I have you here. I think it's getting bigger. It's a dark around. Can I just pull up the camera real quick? I just want a quick diagnosis, and then we'll jump into the interview because it's impossible to get a telehealth with a dermatologist these days. It seems like at your position, you could
you don't want to go on WebMD because it's going to say you have brain cancer or something. You know?
Well, that's why I'm asking. That's why I'm asking you, Dr. Collins, because I read some concerning things on WebMD. So if you could just set my mind at ease real quick.
He was real nice. He probably would have
And
done
then
it.
his eyes just get big. He doesn't say anything. He's like, oh, when you show it to him.
Yeah.
Have you ever done a telehealth appointment when you actually were sick, though? Have you guys done one of those?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I had one a couple years ago. It was like, I think it was during COVID because I couldn't go into my doctor's office, but I was pretty sure I had strep throat. And so I was calling just to kind of get like something prescribed. But the telehealth doctor, she made me get so close to the camera so that she could see my throat. So it was so funny. But I was working for my parents' house. My mom had to leave the room because she was crying, laughing at me, just like pretty much just trying to like stick my tongue out at the camera. Like it was such a bizarre experience. It kind of turned me off from telehealth doctors after that because I was like, this doesn't seem like a real diagnosis.
See, I got to be honest. Like, I don't know why they're even making us go in anymore. I mean, it's one thing if it's like a skin thing or something.
You
that
might have
needs
to feel
physical.
a lump. You might need to feel like, is that lumpy or not?
Okay, I go to a neurologist regularly. There's no need. There's nothing we're doing like that can't be handled over FaceTime. You don't even need to see me. Technically, I could do that. I could cover it in email. I could have an email appointment. I don't know why they're making me come in. I get for some, but there are certain ones that there is no need to physically be in the presence of someone. You know. Anyway, maybe. If you have Dr. Collins' phone number, my neurologist is moving to a different practice. And I've been having these weird dreams lately.
I just text him, hey, what do you think these are? What do you think
you start sending him pictures of moles and stuff. Just weird.
Yeah.
I did ask him what he's working on now because he was in his lab when we talked. And I was like, can I ask, like, what are you working on? He's working on a cure for like a super rare disease that someone has. Yeah. And he's like, we're pretty close. And we'll probably, he said the name of it and I had never even heard of it. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was towards the end of the interview. So I was like, well, I'm going to let you go cure that disease. You have a good day. We'll talk again soon.
Well, listen, if he's working on that, he can definitely help out with this little sore I got under my tongue. That is annoying the heck out of me every lunchtime.
Yeah,
I'm sure
he's already in the lab. While you're in there, just throw this on under the microscope. Let me know.
Once you get once you get the team to circle up real quick, get real close to the camera because this is.
I got something to wow you.
I was eating sunflower seeds a couple weeks ago, and ever since then, right under here, I don't know.
He's literally curing diseases, leading he is the most he was the most important doctor in America, literally for decades, and. When I was out at a BioLogos gathering in San Francisco 10 years ago, I mean, it was, again, worldview changing. It was, my understanding of creation theory and science and stuff was greatly deepened and expanded. Anyway, last night we were there. He picks up an acoustic guitar and starts leading worship. I'm like, this is the most important one of the most important scientists in the world. And he's literally leading us in worship right now. It was just, the man is one of my heroes. He's unbelievable. Yeah.
I won't give it away, but at one point he does talk about how for him science is a way to worship God. And I was like, that's a really beautiful way to see his work. So it's a very good conversation.
And just to confirm, you did have speed, correct?
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Unconfirmed. Unconfirmed.
Unconfirmed.
Anyway, would it be cool if he picked up the guitar in addition to leading worship? He's like, real quick, there's a cover of a Darius Rucker song. Let's go, everyone. Here. Wow, he knows some modern country.
What if he just wanders around the room while he's singing and playing the guitar and just kind of tap somebody on the shoulder hey, get that mole looked at. And just kind of he's doctoring and worshiping. The same time.
I love how we've pretty much restricted his medical knowledge to basic dermatology.
Yeah, he's curing rare diseases, and we're like, can you look at this mole?
Yeah, something a third-year medical student could probably do as well. But yeah, we'll have
anything I can do about this ingrown toenail thing. It is
gnarly.
I think it's
painful.
Listen, doctor, here's what I'm asking: is it infected? Is it infected?
Hey, what do I do about that? All right. And we also, at the end of the show, we have Would You Rather Fall Edition. Would you rather fall? Great. I'm calling it. Would you rather fall or not fall? I don't know. Yeah. And stay tuned right now. Up next, it Slices.
Like it's a bad joke.
You're listening to Soft Launch. The song is Milkshakes. Well, today's show is brought to you in part by World Vision. We all subscribe to a lot of services that make our lives easier and more entertaining. But as followers of Jesus, we should want to seek first the kingdom of God in all areas of life, including our spending. That's why I'm so excited about a new kind of subscription through World Vision. Not one for myself, but for others. It's called Believers for World Change. And when you sign up, you're joining a community of change makers working to help end extreme poverty around the world and here at home. World Vision is a Christian humanitarian organization that works with children, families, and communities to reach their God-given potential, focusing on things like gender equality, spiritual nurture, and access to clean water, education, job training, and healthcare, so the entire picture of poverty can be addressed. Let's subscribe to something new together. Subscribe to World Change today at worldvision.org. Again, that's worldvision.org. All right, it's time for
Slices.
What do you have, Jesse?
All right, so the game plan was to come in today and talk about a very inspirational story about NBA player AJ Griffin, who this week announced that he was planning on leaving his career in basketball to pursue full-time ministry because he recently, came to faith, and it has been so life-altering. And I wanted to talk about that. But then, as we're about to sign on, I one of my tabs was open to YouTube, and I saw a thumbnail of David Blaine covered in bees. Bees. So I'm changing my slice. I'm going to share. Let me share real quick, guys. Hold on.
Oh my God!
Can I screen share? Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Guys, we're calling an audible on the slice here. David Lane has a brand new show, and I want to talk about it. It's called Do Not Attempt. And yes, at one point, he seems to be covered in bees in it. I'm going to start playing this in the background. There's no audio necessary here, guys. The magic genre has really evolved. It used to be restricted to stage magic. Then we got going to street magic. There's a whole show on Netflix that's prank magic. Okay. This show that's going to be on
thought of you,
Nat
and
Geo.
I watched that. I was like, I bet Jesse loves this show.
Yeah, I do. This show is a whole new genre of magic, travel magic. Okay.
You
we got a
said
new
that
travel.
so casually.
Well, I'm saying we have prank magic, street magic, stage magic.
Right. The 4 stages of magic. Yes, I'm caught up.
So he's the Anthony Bourdain of magic now, is what you're saying.
You're watching the trailer in the background. You tell me.
Oh,
You
I
don't
am.
need to hear
It feels like the Anthony Bourdain of magic. Yeah.
It's a travel magic show, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Where here he is, the bee guy. So he travels the world, and he attempts to do things that stunt performers do in their native countries, which seem pretty rural and remote, and a lot in what appears to be Southeast Asia. I'm talking jumping through flaming hoops. He kisses a cobra at one point, and according to the jump cut, almost gets bit right in the face. He at one point seems to be in some Scandinavian country where he's jumping off a glacier with an axe in hand. I don't know what even the trick is. Oh, there it is. But guys, there's a new genre of magic that's coming out next year.
No, he's under the ice. That's why he has the axe.
Yeah, but I feel like, magic is a genre.
But hold on. But you keep saying magic. David Blaine is doing physical endurance stunts. I don't see what he's doing that's any different than a stunt person. I don't see this as magic/illusion stuff. What is this? It's just weird physical torture. How far can I push
closest it
the
gets
limits?
is like when you're, like the magicians who are like in the suit where they're like tied up and they have to get out. Like, that's what I think it is.
That's the point I wanted to make is like, Cameron, to your idea of where's the line between just being a stunt performer and an illusionist and magic. They are tied. Like, I actually read David Blaine's book in college, which he does have a book. Mm-hmm. And it's basically about Harry Houdini. He's obsessed with Houdini, and Houdini understood that the line between, these kind of crazy, acts of escape or being buried alive or whatever, and, performing magic tricks, it's a blurry line, and there's a degree of like performance that goes into it. Now, he says in the trailer, these people are actually doing this stuff, which I'm sure they are, but there's still a degree of showmanship that magicians in particular utilize in these type of performances. So it's very exciting. Whole new genre.
But let me ask you about this, because like the Harry Houdini thing, I understand, like he died because he was tied up underwater, like my understanding as a
he got
child,
punched in the stomach. I think he was punched in the stomach. I think that's how he died.
Oh, okay. See, I was vaguely remembering it. So I remember as a kid, like all boys, at some point you go through a magic phase. And I mean, I'm in an Orlando magic phase to this day, but I mean, I was actually into tricks. I was very much into them, got the magic set, did not have the discipline to perfect any tricks, and lost interest. And so, I remember there's a magic shop down at downtown Disney, and like we went in there and bought a bunch of tricks. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to get serious about it. These are real tricks. I'm spending real money on them, and I never learned them. So but I had them for a long time. I was like, oh, I should learn those tricks. Anyway, I've always been tangentially interested in it. You're interested in it, you're into it. I come and go. Even as a kid, I wondered, like, the Houdini thing was positioned as endurance stunts. I'm going to be tied up, go underwater, and come out. Then David Blaine started doing things like, I'm sitting in a glass cube in Times Square for 4 weeks, and you can watch me 24/7, and I won't eat or sleep and whatever. And it's like, I'm sitting there going, well, is this a magic trick? Because like, is it an illusion that he has air or he has food and we just can't see it, and a sleight of hand, and he's fine and he's making us think that it's this unbelievable endurance? Or is he actually mind over matter? Like you hear about some like Indian gurus and stuff like that, where like they can push their body beyond physical limitations, normal physical limitations, mind over matter stuff. Is David Blaine doing mind over matter, and this is just literally endurance, and he's trying to push the limit? Or is he faking it, and we're all being duped? And I don't have clarity on that, whether it's Houdini or David Blaine. What are your thoughts?
I think that's the idea, is that, magic, these kind of like performance stunts or mentalism, right? Which is a form of like, magic that usually involves mainly like talking, and kind of
that guy that they take to NFL training camps, and he goes, I can't wrap my head around any of it. Like, it's so mind boggling to me, unless I'm like, he has 87 cards hidden all over the room with 87 different predictions, and then the guy says the thing and he's like, well, turn that card over. I was like, I'm trying to figure out how this mentalism thing works, and I just can't.
Well, and that is the connecting tissue of these stunts of magic and of mentalism. They are a degree of performance that makes you question the line of what is possible. Right. And so, to your point, I think a lot of these kind of like when you see like a sword swallower, right? A lot of them have trained their esophagus and their stomach to, but it's still, associated with magic. But I think the point is, maybe there are times when there's a degree of showmanship that embellishes the real physicality of what's happening in these stunts, But I think the idea is it doesn't really matter, because it's like those guys aren't actually reading people's minds, but you still don't know how they do it. And I think that element of uncertainty is kind of intentional. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I just when I'm watching David Blaine cover himself in bees, or those are real bees, swim into a frozen river, trap himself in the ice and have to escape, I'm like, that's not magic. That's just a stunt. And that to me isn't connected to mentalism or illusion. To me, that's just like, you have a mind over matter thing. You can slow your heart rate down. You can, you have figured out how to contort your body to exceed normal physical limitations. But like, to me, that's not magic. What are you doing? What is this? Why are we watching you do this? I don't know. You're into the David Blaine thing more than I am. Because like I want to be tricked.
I don't know if we watched the same trailer just now in silence, but
I do agree
It
with
looked like
Jesse.
a Bear
I think
Grylls. It looked like
a-
Bear Grylls, like going around the world and just like jumping into rivers and
no,
junk.
there's no wilderness. There's no wilderness involved here. These were like
civilizations.
I said,
Yeah.
Give me a mentalist and street magic any day of the week over David Blaine sitting in a glass cube in Times Square for 4 weeks. I don't know. That's not magic.
I'll take the glass cube. I got nothing but time. I'm here for it. You know, I mean, Mr. Beast does lame versions of this and gets 200 million people to watch it. You know, like give me David Blaine.
And he's not a magician. He's just a YouTuber. You know what I mean? Like he's not presenting.
I think he's a villain, actually.
It's turning out that way, isn't it? You seeing the tides are turning against Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of always had that vibe because it's like, it is very interesting the things he does. Like, didn't he do one where it was like you had to be buried alive or something like that recently? I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
And it's just like, we're getting really close to actually killing someone for money. And like, yeah, it's.
You know what's happening with his upcoming show, right? So they just filmed. He's doing a show. I think it was for Netflix. It's one of the streamers, and they just finished filming it. And 5 of the cast members have sued him for physical and psychological torture, and that even though they signed these waivers and stuff, that their experience far exceeded anything that they were told that would happen, and that he was misrepresenting the blah blah blah, and they're suing him. I feel like Mr. Beast personally kind of has had for the last year this kind of too big to fail kind of vibe. Like I have hacked the system. I know how to get your attention, and I'm going to be the biggest thing in the world for the next 20 years. And I don't know, man. I think there's an undercurrent that's swinging back the other way. And now you're right. These stunts are just going so far that he's getting sued over them.
Well, I think also part of it is like, there are people who genuinely like, the amount of money he has, like if he could give them a portion of it, would actually change their life. And so the fact that he's like asking them to almost like risk their lives just for money that could potentially change their lives, it's like that feels very like, I don't know, like horror, sci-fi, evil. Yeah, it's like you have the ability to help these people and you're making them go through literally like almost
you're humiliating them.
For views, and it's like that's well,
I actually have I'm not talking about the ethics of his content, but I actually have a different take, Cameron, that he wants to be like the biggest thing in the world, and like is kind of this too big to fail. And I could be completely wrong about this, but I have a theory that someone who works in the YouTube space probably knows that it could all go away in one update of the algorithm, right? I mean, and I think no one is more attuned to that than someone like Mr. Beast. And he just is doubling down every time because he doesn't know when all of it goes away. And, you know, like, I honestly think, well, I don't know if I honestly think it. I'm open to the idea that he knows that there is an end to the content that he's making, that it isn't gonna, it's not sustainable. It's not gonna work on any other platform. It's not gonna work on Netflix, right? Like, but I think he also knows like he is at the mercy of a website that he does not control, and that he keeps going bigger and crazier just because he knows, you know, this could all go away tomorrow and I got to get as many views as I can before it does. I could be wrong about that. I could be, but I also,
to that point, I'm sorry to cut you off. I think we got a lag. To that point, I've heard interviews with him where he's talking to other content creators, and he has this hubris and this, I'm the best, come learn from my amazing wisdom. And the way he talks about it is, I'm too big to fail. I will be a billionaire by next year. I will be doing, because he's saying, regardless of YouTube, I'm spinning off these other businesses. I know how to crack whatever the algorithm becomes. I'm smarter than it. I'll know how to crack it. That's how he talks, which is a little off-putting as a content creator who is chasing the algorithm, you know, but like, I'm just like, in the way, like Emily's thing about the ethics of almost like exploiting people who need money is just kind of like, I don't know.
It's like a Squid Game kind of situation.
Yeah,
it's Squid Game. I mean, if he could do Squid Game,
he literally did.
He did.
He did it. Yeah.
Anyway, he didn't kill anybody.
Maybe he'll go the David Blaine route though and do travel stunt magic, whatever we're calling it.
There's no victim.
It does look like stunt. I was telling Cameron earlier this week, I have a friend whose dad is a stunt man and his specialty is setting himself on fire. And it is really interesting watching like he showed a clip of us, or she showed us a clip one time of him being set on fire. And it was so weird to see him clearly not, covered in burns while he's doing all this. And that was maybe some magic.
Jesse, get this. When she told me this story, I was like, wait, you grew up in Texas.
Yeah.
Why is there a professional stuntman in Texas?
Yeah.
He was Chuck Norris's stuntman. All the stuff about Chuck Norris
Texas
can
Ranger.
do whatever. No, Chuck Norris can, all the superhuman jokes is her friend's dad doing those things.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, because people would make the joke about like Chuck Norris can do all this and stuff. And my friend would be like, actually, my dad does a lot of that stuff. So I do think Chuck Norris did some things. Like, I don't want to say he didn't do anything, but
he spins around and kicks a lot.
Bigger,
but
I think he did his own spins, but a lot of the other stuff was my friend's dad.
Does he look like Chuck Norris? I feel like to be someone's stunt double.
Sort of. This was also like, because they moved to Texas for Walker Texas Ranger. That's like what he was doing. Nowadays, I don't think he does, but maybe when they were younger, he did.
I feel like we need to get him on as a guest. Sorry, Dr. Collins.
I feel like
you've been bumped.
Yeah.
He's really great. He's been on Walking Dead. He was in Miss Congeniality. Like, he's done like a couple different.
What stunts were in Miss Congeniality?
He's at the very beginning. The way they there's a sting operation, whatever, in some dark restaurant, and he walks in and has a gun, whatever. I think he shoots at Sandra Bullock.
Okay.
So a little controversial there, but
who among us hasn't? I mean, let's be honest.
Not me. I would never shoot at Sandra Bullock. I would take a bullet for her.
Not America's sweetheart.
She's Miss Congeniality.
Uh-huh. She's up there with Anne Hathaway for me on the list of annoying actresses, but that's fine.
Oh my gosh, I actually have to leave the show right now. I cannot be.
I like both
slander.
of them. I like both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget Cameron's a half a hater. I never
Anne
will
Hathaway
be.
is insufferable. I don't think Sandra Bullock is insufferable.
Okay,
I just think Sandra Bullock has a limited range of acting skills. She was very good in The Proposal. The 90s though, like The Net and Speed and junk like that, I just wasn't into her. She just wasn't. I don't know.
This feels blasphemous, honestly. Like, I can't believe you're saying this. You've clearly never seen Miss Congeniality. I know you haven't seen Princess Diaries because you wouldn't hate Anne Hathaway if you'd seen that.
First of all, I have, and even more so cemented her standing in my mind. And I have seen Miss Congeniality. You're not going to change my mind. It's fine.
I think they're both
right.
great.
If you want to have your wrong opinion, that's fine. I'll let you have your wrong opinion.
Yes, you like things I don't. It is okay. I appreciate that about you. You like One Direction. You like Taylor Swift. It's all fine. We can like what we like. All right. What do you have, Emily?
Well, speaking of your favorite person, Taylor Swift, I do actually have a slice about her that I wanted to talk about.
Are you serious? We planned out slices. You never said Taylor Swift. We had other plans.
They've changed.
We have to talk about this because I've been thinking about it all week, and it's so funny. It's like probably one of the funniest stories I've seen in a while. A guy in Texas earlier this week spent $4,000 buying a Taylor Swift signed guitar. And the second he got it in his hands, he immediately smashed it with a hammer. Have you guys seen this video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like a point of pride. This liberal Taylor Swift, we're going to show her. And he beat the guitar.
Yeah, exactly.
And then did you see the follow-up story that she actually had not signed it? It was a fake signature. So he paid $4,000 to make some statement for something that didn't actually matter. I think it's the funniest thing. And I'm putting this out there because if he really wants to stick it to the Swifties and make them mad, I think he should give the money to me because I think it would be so funny and just really show off if he just gave me the $4,000.
It's like when people burn books or whatever, or burn an athlete's jersey,
That's
it's
it.
The athlete's like, you bought my jersey.
Yes,
and
that's
now
what's so funny to me.
You're performatively burning it. This affects me zero, right? It actually helps me because one of my jerseys sold, you know, like why does Taylor Swift, why would she care that a guitar that was going to be sold to some stranger anyway was sold to some lunatic who decided to spend his money to break it, you know?
It was sold for like a charity too. Like the money was going to, I think, like a Boys and Girls Club or something. So it's like, why are we making this weird political statement that's like supposed to help charity? But it just turned out to be the funniest thing because it's like you spent an insane amount of money on nothing that like this matters even less than you thought it did. And I just think this is really funny.
How did it get auctioned as a signed thing when it wasn't signed? Like how did they get away with that?
They were saying it was signed, but then I think the person who gave it to them was like, hey, just to clarify, like she didn't actually sign it. Basically like they they
put her signature on it.
Yeah, they almost like kind of like like a replica of it. But like Taylor Swift has never been anywhere near that guitar.
I'm assuming he has some disagreement about her political stance.
Yeah,
sure.
Did he articulate what his beef is?
No,
she endorsed Kamala. That's it.
Yeah.
He's a
Just
good old
that.
boy. I mean,
but yeah, he brought a hammer to this charity so that he could hammer the guitar. And I will say, not the best guitar smash I've ever seen. He probably could have done a little bit better too. So
I would have gone one really cool like power chord and then like, you know, rock star smash
Slammed
it.
it.
Hammer.
yeah, that's my thing. I'm like, he brought a little baby hammer and I'm like, this is just embarrassing all around.
Yeah, it's like a little ball peen hammer that you know, if I was smashing a little birdhouse or something, I don't know why I would do that, but I would use one of those hammers.
you go around smashing birdhouses, you know exactly what tool you're going to use.
I do. I don't like birds to have homes near me that are.
Gosh.
The idea that birds, a natural creature, live in artificial homes. It seems just very unnatural to me. Birds have homes in trees and nest. And
no, I agree with that. I think we should get rid of all birds. Personally, they're my least favorite animal. But
not little fake tiny barns that we create.
Jesse, I understand your beef with the bird houses. Like, give it back to nature. We don't need to domesticate these birds. I understand that. What you didn't pick up on, because I've had many conversations with her about this, is Emily hates birds. Because in Florida, I live on the lake here. You know, we have birds, and we'll be on the phone. I'll be like, "Oh, there's a big old bird doing this thing."
Yeah.
It just catches my attention while we're on the phone, and she'll remind me yet again how she hates birds. Do you know why she hates birds, Jesse?
What's the bird beef?
She thinks that they are CIA drones spying on us.
I think that's one reason.
Like the birds aren't real, guy. You know that's satire.
Well, there's a little bit of truth in satire, isn't there?
I mean, in this case, no. It is actively a parody. It is a joke.
It's not. I do think part of it is it's not really the robot thing. Although if it comes out to be true, I always believed it. I want that on record. It's really
Dr. Collins is listening right now, and he's like, "Please get me off of this podcast." Like
I'm
right
so
now,
sorry, Dr. Collins. I believe in the mole science, but the bird science, I'm not sure about. They're little disease-carrying rats that fly around. Like, literally, what good are they doing? And then
they're baby dinosaurs. They're not rats. They're dinosaurs. It's amazing.
I think they're closer to rats personally, but they're just gross. I also have a lot of beef for them because when I was 16, I went to lunch with my friend, and when I came out, I had so much bird poop on my car. It was like actually insane. I couldn't see out the front window. So I think they know that I hate them. So we have like an ongoing beef.
Don't ever cross paths or make a crow angry. I'm being serious. Like, if you see a crow, just go the other way with your issues with birds.
Anytime I see a bird, I try to avoid it. Not out of fear, out of pure hatred.
If you want to get freaked out for real, go down the wormhole of watching crow videos on YouTube. They are so stinking intelligent, and they hold grudges. So
okay, what about anything I just said makes you think I want to watch videos of crows?
Just to know what you're up against. Because you need to know your enemy.
Good.
But teams watch tape to prepare for the next game. You got to watch the crow tapes so you can prepare for avoiding crows. You do not want to. He'll sniff out your bias against him and wreak havoc on your life. They are vengeful.
No, I think he knows that I could take him.
No, you could not defeat a crow.
I gotta send you guys hold on. Give me 1 second. I gotta remember what this thing is called because
you make me watch a bird video.
It's not a video. It's a hold on.
I will say a lot of people in my life know that I hate birds because I actively talk about this. My nieces and nephew knows.
I'm going to share with you guys something. And I recently discovered this animal, and it's weird.
new
we're talking about
animal.
birds. Yeah, it's new to me.
Did Dr. Collins discover it? Because he does things like that. He discovers cures, animals, the whole thing.
I don't think he would discover a bird. He and I had a kindred spirit. He knows not to talk about birds.
Hold on. Let me pull this guy up here. This is
That
an
not
animal.
true.
That's a new
That's
animal
not true.
I discovered. Hold on. I'm going to find another
That's
one.
Photoshop. That's AI.
Nope.
There's no way that's
Nope.
real.
Nope. Hold on. I'm going to show you another one. Give me 1 sec. I went down a rabbit hole of these things the other day.
I feel like I have seen this before.
When you went down the rabbit hole, you found this animal in the hole.
Yeah, and I promptly left the hole.
Wait, what is the animal called?
It's called a harpy eagle. Hold on, check this out.
All right, everybody, look up harpy eagles right now. Google it. If you're listening on your phone, look at
First
harpy.
video, monkey killer.
Yeah, they kill monkeys. I forgot to mention.
That is not true. That is not
Yes,
true.
it
Oh
is.
my goodness. That thing is as large as a human.
And it has a horrible face.
Now who's hates birds, okay?
And if you saw that thing staring at you, how terrified would you be?
Have you seen those Australian bats that are like 6 feet tall?
Oh, yeah. Like the flying foxes.
This is the worst episode.
Yeah, the
we've
flying
ever had.
foxes.
The flying fox. We did a whole thing on flying foxes at one point.
We did years ago.
That was another
Emily,
animal that I discovered.
Google flying foxes right now. It's a bat, but it's
With
the
a dog
body.
face.
You know how big? You know how like a bat is rat size, the body part? It's fox size. So think how then proportionally large the wings are. So it's this bat
Absolutely not.
that is called a
Absolutely
flying
not.
fox. Look at it.
No, I'm
Look
looking
at those
at
photos.
Cameron, imagine if you woke up one morning and this was like standing it was in a tree branch just staring down at you.
It's like a human wearing a bird costume.
I know.
I would assume
know.
I'm meeting God very soon if I saw this staring at me.
It's the largest eagle in the world, the harpy eagle. Oh.
I know you hate birds, but I recently discovered that one. A lot of people don't know about them, but I do. And I want you to know about them too, and them to haunt your dreams.
Okay, so listeners, I know, sorry, we haven't launched video yet, but so look up harpy eagles and look up flying foxes, but don't do it anywhere near bedtime. It's like drinking caffeine. Do it early in the day so it can get out of your system by the time you're trying to lay down at night. Okay.
Isn't it weird? Isn't it weird, by the way, that like we've all had the internet for a very long time. Okay. And we'll still stumble upon weird animals we didn't know were real. You know, like when I was looking at these harpy eagle pictures, I'm like, how did I not know about this until now when I'm just like goofing on the internet? You know, it's the earth, man. It's a wild place. It's wild. And we got travel magic. I mean, things are happening, guys.
Things are popping.
Dude, if you ever disappeared and authorities had to go through your computer and your phone to kind of see the clues of what was going on in your life before your disappearance, your
Travel
search
magic,
history
harpy eagle.
would set off so many concerns.
They're like any number of things could have led to his disappearance, including abduction by a rare bird. Because I think
he was
went looking
traveling
for
doing
one.
magic.
Because it sure
gosh.
seems he went looking for one because he Googled where they are and how to get there. And what they eat / bait.
All right,
So
that'll
we're not
do
going
it
to rule
for
it out. These things do kill monkeys. By the way, how horrifying would it be to be in a place where there's wild monkeys and you're like, oh, cool, check out that monkey just hanging out. And it just gets savaged. It just gets ravaged by one of these giant eagles. What would you think is even happening? Do you imagine how horrible the monkey screams would be? And one of those harpy eagles, you'd never recover. You would never recover. But it's nature, and so there's nothing you can do. I mean, it happens. It's just the way it is.
This is why I avoid places with birds.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh. Check out relevantvaccine.com where we have neither of those stories. Neither of those stories are on the website. Okay, stay tuned. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Stay tuned. Up next, Dr. Francis Collins joins us.
Dr. Collins, I'd like to talk to you about the harpy eagle. And
He probably
have you ever seen?
discovered
Do you
it.
know this was real? Did you know this was real? Yeah.
listening to Huron John. The song is Just Me, No Friends. Today's podcast is also brought to you in part by the new book, Counting Miracles. One miracle might change 3 lives forever. From Nicholas Sparks, author of A Walk to Remember and The Notebook, Counting Miracles is an emotional novel about second chances. It follows Tanner, a former Army Ranger searching for his father, Caitlin, a doctor balancing work and family, and Jasper, an elderly man facing personal tragedy. As their paths cross, none expect a miracle, but it may change their futures forever. A story of redemption and belonging, Counting Miracles is available wherever books are sold. Well, our guest today is Dr. Francis Collins. He's not only a world-renowned scientist, he's also a Christian leader. He led the Human Genome Project from 1993 to 2008. He started BioLogos, a Christian advocacy group that supports the view that God created the world using evolution. He played a major role in developing a COVID vaccine. He also has been the head of the National Institute of Health under multiple presidents until recently retiring. He's a big deal. And he's here to talk to us today about how science and faith are connected in unity, not disconnected like so many people would like us to believe. His new book, The Road to Wisdom, explores how we can discover truth by using both scientific fact and faith in God. Here's our conversation with Dr. Francis Collins.
Before we get into this, I would love to hear from you as both an outspoken believer and someone who has spent really their entire career playing a very pivotal role in the scientific community. How has science influenced your faith and vice versa?
It has, absolutely. I'm not one of those who thinks the faith worldview and the scientific worldview have to have a firewall between them or something bad will happen. They coexist within me on any given day, including right now. And by the way, I didn't grow up in a faith tradition, and I'm kind of glad in retrospect because I think there's so much about faith traditions now that's added on to the foundation, various human attributes. Some of them are sort of anti-science. I never experienced that. I came to faith as a Christian at age 27 as a medical student, really trying to find answers to questions like, why is there suffering? And is there a God? And what happens when you die? And why am I here anyway? And why is there something instead of nothing? All of those questions that science has no answers to, but I thought they were important questions and I wanted to have a way to approach them. And faith gave me that. So now as a scientist, I'm just as rigorous as any scientist you'll meet about any kind of experimental data that you're going to tell me convinces you of something about nature, because that's how we have to do it. But I also think of what we're doing as scientists as exploring creation that's given as a gift to us by God. And so when you discover something about creation that wasn't known before, wow, that's a little glimpse of God's mind, and that makes it even more of an exciting moment than if it was just an intellectual adventure. So I think, therefore, science can be thought of not as contrary to belief in God, but actually in a very similar way, almost like worship. I think you could make that case. So for me, as long as you're careful about what question you're asking and which approach fits that, then I've never encountered a conflict between science and faith.
Well, you make a great case for this intersection of science and faith in your new book, The Road to Wisdom, which explores how they actually complement each other instead of work against each other. And that is not a common message people believe today. How did you come to this conclusion?
I didn't really want to. I didn't really know that it was going to be important to try to write about this, but it grew on me over time, and ultimately I found I couldn't really walk away. I served as the director of the National Institutes of Health for 12 years. I'm a physician, a scientist, reporting to 3 presidents, Obama, Trump, and Biden. And particularly during COVID, where it became clear that we as a society had become awfully polarized, awfully divided, and at times unable to tell the difference between lies and truth. that we were in a pretty difficult place as far as our future. There is such a thing as objective truth, but if people start to deny that or accept alternative facts as if they are facts, then all kinds of things start to run off the rails. And if science is not something that people can trust because they don't like its conclusions, that also puts us in a difficult place. Facts don't care how you feel. They just are what they are. But if people are allowed to discount things that they don't really appreciate, where is that going to take us? Communities of faith, I would think, ought to be in a very good place to stand against this kind of deterioration of truth and love and concern for each other. But many communities of faith have been caught up in a lot of the same contentious arguments that are more political than they are based on faith. I'm a person of faith, so I grieve a bit about what's happened to my own community in that regard. And we've also really begun to have trouble figuring out what criteria to use to decide whether to trust information or trust a person or trust an institution. And trust in general has been deteriorating rather badly in the course of the last few years. These are not good signs for the most technologically advanced country in the world to be having this kind of confusion about things that are really necessary for us to make progress. Things that I think fit into this idea of a road to wisdom that we all want to be on. Wisdom is not just knowledge. It adds other things like judgments and experience and a moral foundation. But it feels like our collective road to wisdom has had a lot of bumps. Maybe sometimes I feel like we're in the ditch. And so the book was aiming to try first to do the diagnostics of what have we kind of lost anchor to that is really significant, and then what can we do about it?
Can you help me understand, how did we get to this place where we are so divided on something like truth?
It starts quite a ways back. It's tempting for people to think, oh, it just happened in the last year or two, or it just happened because of COVID. No, it was there. Politically, you can go back to the 60s and 70s and see the early signs of this kind of divisiveness. It got a lot worse in the 1990s with politics become much more of a blood sport instead of an effort to try to compromise. And then certainly in the last 10 years or so, it's been very much in that space. And people have tended, therefore, to align themselves with like-minded people and then go off in their own particular tribal alliance and stop talking to the people who don't agree with them. Even to begin to say, well, they're not just misguided over there. Those people are actually evil. And that's something that I don't think had reached quite the same level that it is now in a very long time. So it's been accelerated. COVID should have been, Emily, a reason for us all to come together. We had a common enemy, and that's what's supposed to deal with the divisiveness. And the common enemy was the virus, but instead it seemed to be used as a way to drive us further apart in terms of people's acceptance of various facts about the pandemic and various implementation of public health measures, which became very contentious, like masking and closures of businesses and schools, and whether or not the vaccines were really safe and effective. That, unfortunately, from my perspective, turned this societal divisiveness, which was already a problem, into something much more serious. In fact, something that took lives. The Kaiser Family Foundation estimates that between June of 2021 and March of 2022, when vaccines were freely available to anybody who wanted one, more than 50 million Americans said no. And Kaiser says, by their very careful analysis, 234,000 people died. So this culture war wasn't just about rhetoric. It took lives.
Science in particular has become very partisan and even politicized over the years. When do you think science became such a divisive issue, especially for Christians?
It was a little bit that way over the course of the past few decades. I mean, you could say because of the perceived conflict between science and faith perspectives, that therefore communities of faith, if they tended to be more on the conservative side politically, then that might mean that science was less likely to be warmly embraced amongst conservatives. But it was a pretty limited influence. That has gotten much, much worse, and distrust in science amongst conservatives has gone up very steeply. This is really hard to understand on a rational basis. I mean, science is about determining objective truth about how nature works. Why should politics be part of that conversation? But it's almost now as if the Democrats are sort of seen as the party of science, and therefore the Republicans, because they can't agree with the Democrats, have to be the party who questions science. And when you look at the consequences, again, coming back to COVID vaccines and unwillingness to accept what was a very compelling case of safety and efficacy, that was a much stronger reaction for people who identified as Republican than those who identified as Democrat, which is so weird because that vaccine was developed during Donald Trump's presidency by a remarkable effort called Operation Warp Speed, which I was part of, which was mostly shaped by the Republican Secretary of Health and Human Services, Alex Azar, a really remarkable guy who did something amazing. So the Republicans ought to be taking credit for this. Look what happened under their watch. But politics seems to have all kinds of ways to take what should be a sensible conclusion and turn it into something else.
I think a lot of us are aware that there is this split and this problem, but what can we actually do about it?
Well, that's what I've been struggling with. I would love to think that leadership at the national level could bring us back together, but I don't see that happening. Various surveys of attitudes would say our politics is more divided than the public at large. So don't count on the politicians to bring us back together. There's such a force now in the Congress, for instance, to move yourself to the sort of more extreme positions, because that's how one gets attention. And if you're always running for the next election, you need attention, which means a lot of politician attitudes and behaviors are not about governing. They're about performance of some sort of scene in front of videos or cameras or microphones to basically grab attention. And it's quite troubling to see that. I mean, I've lived in this environment because I'm a federal employee and have been so for 31 years and have had the chance to work with multiple members of Congress over all those years and have grown to greatly admire many of those heroic figures. But now it just seems like we've lost that view about what it means to try to be a governing body. And it's more about how to cause more attention to happen for something you just said. So we're not going to get it that way. I think if there's going to be a solution, it's going to come from each of us. We are, after all, the grassroots. We are, as More in Common has called it. That's a group that's done careful surveys of society. We're, most of us, part of the exhausted middle. We're not out there on the left fringe or the right fringe. We're like, what happened to us? We might be tilted a little bit to the blue or the red side of politics, but it's not what drives us. It's not our identity. Some of us, like me, are believers. A lot of us are skeptics. But we all have in common this desire to get our country back. And I think we're ready to move from saying things shouldn't be like this to saying I shouldn't be like this. I'm not going to be tolerant of this kind of circumstances if there's nothing I can do. I'm going to try to see how I can help. And so in the book, in the last chapter, is a whole list of actions that I think individuals who are motivated could start to take. And that includes being willing to try to build bridges to people on the other side of an issue instead of staying away from them. And that requires some investment of time and patience, because you have to learn, once again, how to listen. Hear somebody else's view, really hear it, to understand it, not plan your snappy response. And we haven't really practiced that very well lately. And I think it also requires each of us to do a better job of filtering information that's coming at us and figure out, is that true? Is that based on evidence? And not just taking the latest thing that popped up in social media and decide to spread it around to everybody we know without really being quite sure whether it's true. Because we're all sort of part of this network that seems to be so good at distributing grievances and anger and fear, and not so good at distributing truth. But that's us. We're part of that. And we have a chance, I think, collectively, to try to turn this into a circumstance that would lead to a country that we would grow to love and admire again, instead of all of the hurts and pains and distress and heartbreak that we see right now.
That was Dr. Francis Collins. Make sure to check out his new book, The Road to Wisdom. It's out now.
And lit a fire while I waited for more. Now I'm running and I won't stop. I don't wanna go. I think about it every day and night. I can't let go. Man, I'm never the same. That's 100 miles an hour on the dirt road right away. So come a little closer. There's something I could tell you. You were such a roller coaster. And a killer queen you are. Roller coaster. Well, I don't say no.
You're listening to Alana, but there's like an 8, like all an 8 maybe. There's an 8 in there, 8H at the end. The song is something else. The spelling is something else.
Hi, my name is Peter, and I'm a prophet in the new novel, American Prophet. I was the one who dreamed about the natural disaster just before it happened. Oh, and the pandemic. And that crazy election. And don't get me wrong, I'm not bragging. It's not like I asked for the job. Actually, no one would ask for this job. At least half the people will hate whatever I say, and almost everyone thinks I'm a little crazy. Getting a date is next to impossible. I've got a radio host who is making up conspiracies about me, a dude actually shooting at me, and an unhinged president threatening me. But the job isn't all that bad. I've gotten to see the country and meet some really interesting people and hopefully do some good along the way. You can find my story on Amazon, Audible, or iTunes. Just look for American Prophet by Jeff Fulmer. That's American Prophet by Jeff Fulmer.
Okay, it's time for
Would you rather fall?
Would You Rather Fall Edition. Here we go. We got a few minutes here. I'm just going to toss this up randomly. Here we go. Jesse, would you rather lose your phone for a week or lose your wallet for a day?
Wallet for a day, no big deal. I lose my wallet for a day all the time. I always find it again, so no sweat. There's tons of times I'm like, Dana, I don't have my wallet. Can you pay for this or can you drive? I have no documentation.
Right.
Happens
Same.
all the time.
It was one of the biggest benefits of being married was I lost everything every day, and she was very good at finding things. So, Emily, would you rather be able to talk to animals or speak every human language fluently?
Every human language, because I think there are certain animals that we should not be talking to, like the harpy eagle. I don't want to talk to him.
Oh, I'd
Or
take
her,
animals
sorry.
all day. I'll take animals all day.
You want to Dr. Doolittle this thing. You want to be able to command them.
You could ask him a lot of interesting questions. I agree. I probably don't want to know the answer, but I can't help myself, you know.
I don't want to know the answer of what a flying fox would say. I mean, those things are, yeah. All right, Jesse, fall-themed one. Would you rather drink nothing but pumpkin spice lattes all fall or eat nothing but candy corn during the season?
Is nutrition a concern, or is this like, you know?
Oh, it's true. You might get diabetes. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how, candy corn, I found out, has no actual corn in it. So there's not really, it's not a vegetable. I would take pumpkin spice. I actually wouldn't mind that. If I just got free pumpkin spice lattes all fall, sweet, let's do it.
I I like candy corn, but one time I'd tease. I have my friends. I tease. Well, we had some friends who are British, and they came over during the holidays or fall, and we had candy corn. And I was like, "Hey, look, it's a bowl of British teeth." And I thought they would laugh because they knew the stereotype, and they were very offended.
Yeah, they were. I remember that. It was.
I don't think the British are very jokey
unpleasant
people.
Yeah. No, they were jokey. It's just this joke. It was an unpleasant interaction that Cameron initiated.
I didn't know. I thought they were all in on the stereotypes. Like Americans are fat and stupid. British people have bad teeth. I thought everybody knew, but like, nope, apparently.
Well, it turns out both those are offensive things to say. So,
turns out. Yeah. I wonder why I don't have very many friends. All right. Emily, would you rather eat a Thanksgiving meal every day for a month or eat Halloween candy every day for a month? Halloween candy every day or Thanksgiving meal every day?
I feel like Halloween candy, because like I do love a good Thanksgiving meal, but that's a lot of that's heavy food, at least in my house. So I'll go with some sweet treats every day.
There you go. Jesse, would you rather be forced to share a house with a traveling missionary who wakes up at 5 a.m. for prayer or a Christian influencer who vlogs everything you do together?
I mean, why would them waking up at 5 a.m. be any inconvenience to me? Are they staying in my room?
Maybe they're loud. Maybe they're loud.
House?
No, I think
they crank the worship
music.
music.
They wake you up, every morning with their prayers.
They're out there just hooting and hollering and worshiping.
I would definitely take that over the vlogging. That would be my nightmare. A vlogger following me, my literal nightmare. And I've looked at a lot of pictures of harpy eagles.
Emily, would you rather host a podcast with Joel Osteen for a year or a co-host with a Christian comedian who's always trying out new material on you, but it's terrible?
Well, I feel like I'm already on the second one. But
Grandpa's.
Hold on, say that again.
Oh, the would you rather was, would you rather host a podcast with Joel Osteen for a year or co-host with a Christian comedian who's always trying out new material on you, but it's terrible? And she said we were the second one.
I said someone on here could be the second one. I didn't say who. Anyways, I'm going to pick the second one because I do not want to do a podcast with Joel Osteen. No offense, Joel. So I guess slight offense because I'm not picking him, but
yeah, I would have no beef with that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what we talk about, but we could chop it up. It's my gift.
Well, you could do what we did in the early days of our podcast, and you could spend the entire hour playing the Your Best Life Now board game, the Joel Osteen board game. I'm
sure he would enjoy that. I'm sure I'm pretty certain he's not familiar with most of the things that were licensed after that book. So I'd like to introduce him to it,
and force him to play it because we subjected ourselves and our listeners to that game in like 2007. Yeah. All right. Jesse, would you rather spend every weekend in October running a church pumpkin patch or spend every Saturday at a fall craft fair booth? Fall craft fair patch.
That'd actually be the pumpkin patch would actually be pretty fun, and there's not a lot of work. You're just sitting around a bunch of pumpkins, maybe you rearrange them here and there, but a craft, you got to know about crafts and you're probably crafting. That sounds terrible. Chilling at the pumpkin patch. Sure. Why not? It's a pleasant little Saturday to me. It's a break from my normal busy routine.
All right, Emily, would you rather have the ability to pause time for 10 minutes once a day or rewind time by 10 minutes once a week?
Ooh.
One's regret, one's, I don't know. What are you going to do when you pause time? Do something shifty? I don't know.
I think I would rewind it, but I feel like I'm assuming it like resets on like Monday night or something like that. I feel like I would use it on a Monday. Like I would do something I regret and immediately use it. And then like later in the week, I'd be like, dang, I wish I had my 10 minutes. I could rewind.
Last week, I'd rewind 10 minutes and hit record on the podcast session that we had.
Yeah.
This makes me sound like a degenerate, right? Yeah, this makes me sound like a degenerate, but I automatically thought about the gambling implications of rewinding 10 minutes. It would be awesome. I would take that.
Okay. Jesse, would you rather always know when someone is lying or always get away with telling a lie?
Ooh.
I'm not comfortable. I feel like I'm a pretty honest person, so I'd rather sniff out the lies than be the uncatchable liar.
You're just saying that because you admitted that you wanted to cheat in gambling earlier.
There's no lying involved there. That is a supernatural power to roll back time. And if I can do it, I will use it for good, which is
in a way
in my pocket. It's a victimless crime.
Wait, let's talk about this. Is time travel magic? Like, is that the same thing in a way?
What? It's not real.
No, travel.
Darn.
Travel magic involves going to really cool places. Now, time travel again. The first thing I think of is basically the subplot of Back to the Future too, of how I could use this for financial gain, and just is what it is. Or I would wait to see the outcome of a game, rewind 10 minutes, and place the bet knowing the outcome. That's what I'm saying. That's how I would use it.
Do that a few times, build up to huge winnings, and never have to work another day in your life.
Or do it every week. You got it 10 minutes a week.
True. Emily, would you rather give up listening to music for 6 months or give up binge watching TV shows for a year?
Ooh, that's tough. I think I would give up binge watching for a year. Just because I listen to music, like I do binge watch probably more than I should, but I listen to music a lot. And I think I need it more than I need binge watching. I can also just play like episodes of The Office in my head. I've seen them so many times.
I'm the opposite. I would give up music. As much as I listen to music, I would give up music so I could keep TV. Speaking of binging, last night, Jesse, have you seen this Netflix comedy, No One Wants This?
I haven't seen it yet.
Dude, I watched it last night. It is one of the best shows that's come out.
So good.
Is Adam Brody in that? No.
Yeah.
He is. Yeah.
Okay. I've been meaning to watch it. Yeah. I want to
watch it with your wife. It is lovely. It is funny.
It made me believe in love
witty.
Again. It's so good.
It's wonderful. It's a
series
truly wonderful show.
Or a movie.
Series.
10 episode series.
Okay.
10 half-hour episodes.
Yeah. I'm in. I've heard good things.
It's a weekend burn. You and Dana would love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm in.
And it's really funny too. That's the other thing too. It's charming and sweet and really witty.
I'm in.
It's good. Yeah. All right. Adam Brody. Didn't you love Adam Brody because of a show he was in back in the day? I never really watched his stuff. What was he in? The OC. Yeah, I never.
He was in the OC.
Who's Seth Cohen?
Yeah.
Okay, Emily, would you rather attend a youth group lock-in every weekend for a year or only listen to 2000s era CCM for the next 5 years? And we're not talking, we said this as CCM. That's contemporary Christian music. That's not cool emo, this is the pop stuff. 2000s era. 5 years.
5 years is a long time to listen to it.
To only listen to that.
I'd do a youth group lock-in. I'd have fun. I'd mess with the kids. It'd be great.
That's what I'm saying. I get to do the youth group lock-in. That sounds like those were awesome.
It's true.
Yeah.
I was using AI last week. We were doing a youth group lock-in kind of nostalgic listicle on the site.
Yeah.
And our designer wasn't available. So I was going to do the graphic. And I was like, how do I show a nostalgic youth group lock? And I was like, I can't just steal somebody's photo off the internet, And so I was like, oh, I'll use AI. So I went to AI and like typed in like all these different descriptors of what to show. It came back. AI's perception of youth group lock-ins in the 2000s is very, very disturbing. I mean, there's very dystopian things that were going down as we broke down the photos. Yeah.
And everyone has like 11 fingers too. It was very, very creepy.
We ended up killing off the article because we couldn't do a graphic.
I think the article could just be, here are 11 things that AI thinks the 2000s youth group was like, and just into the dark psychology of AI.
Emily, there you go.
Yeah.
Let's do it. We can do that. Okay, well, that'll do it for...
Would you rather fall
Well, before we wrap things up, I want to thank Dr. Francis Collins for joining us today. Make sure to check out his new book, The Road to Wisdom. And for more of that conversation, check out relevantmagazine.com, where we have posted the full transcript. There's a lot more that we weren't able to air on the show today. It's awesome. Also, while you're at the site, make sure to check out Relevant Plus. It's the best way to experience our content. You get ad-free unlimited reading at the site. You get the beautifully designed digital magazine. Also, you get this podcast ad-free and more. We've got more in the pipeline. Can't wait for Relevant Plus subscribers to see what we're doing. Also, make sure to sign up for Relevant Today, our daily newsletter, where we send you our top 5 trending stories right to your inbox every weekday morning. And follow us on all the socials to not miss a thing. Like I said, we have some announcements coming in the coming weeks. All right, on that note, we'll wrap it. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Carey.
I'm Emily Brown.
We'll see you on Friday. We promise we'll hit record and there will be a show on Friday. All right, have a great week, everyone.
Check out our features, interviews, and news updates every day at relevantmagazine.com. And make sure to follow Relevant on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest. For more great podcasts, browse the shows on the Relevant Podcast Network, which you can find at our site. And while you're there, don't miss the all-new era of Relevant Magazine. A new issue releases every other month at relevantmagazine.com.
What's the bird beef?
Relevant Podcast Network.